Hello, this is Sakina Myers, lay citizen who comes to you every week to read and discuss articles that I find of interest that are published in the local newspaper. And today I will be reading and discussing the article, Timing the Right Time to Quit, published in the New York Times on February 11th, 2018, written by the Workologist, Rob Walker. And this is an advice column. And here it begins. I have been contemplating quitting my job for the past 6 months or so. I'm finally certain about the decision, but I can't seem to find the right time to tell my boss. It didn't seem right just after the holiday break. Then I came down with the flu and missed several days, putting additional stress on my team. And the company is in the middle of kicking off several big new projects, and my role would be integral. Our company is small, and I have a close relationship with everyone, my boss included. I don't think anyone suspects that I'm even thinking about leaving. I have had a couple of amazing years here and expected to stay longer. But I'm burned out by long hours for not enough money and don't find creative satisfaction in the work anymore. It's starting to affect my personal and professional relationships. I don't want to blindside my boss, but I fear postponing this conversation, as that may just overcomplicate things. I would love some advice. And here comes Rob Walker's response. The problem here is pretty clear. You like your colleagues, but you really don't like your job. You're right that postponing the conversation will not make it any easier. Eventually, in fact, it's just going to make you bitter. You're suffering for the sake of others who are blissfully ignorant of your unhappiness. If you have something else specific lined up, let that dictate the timing. If you don't, then decide on the timetable that's best for you, and stick to that as closely as possible. Be selfish about this. If a job is having a negative impact on your personal life, and you can get out of it, you need to do so promptly. When you announce your decision, tie it to a concrete final date. You can choose to be flexible if requested, but anchor the discussion to a specific time frame. Don't start out with something vague or squishy. You really don't owe anybody a detailed explanation for your decision. And my suspicion is that you're better off keeping that vague. Just say you've had a valuable experience with great people, but you're burned out and it's time for a change. In other words, treat the organization and this situation with respect, but make sure that you and your decision are respected too. And that concludes the article. Now it's time for my bit. Yes, you definitely want to treat the organization and your colleagues with respect. When I started bartending at 40, my first job was at a corporate conglomerate that had many locations around the globe. And I mentioned to a few of the supervisors and managers there that I had a 2-year plan. And I even mentioned to them where I saw myself going in the future, that I really wanted to be in New York after that. And after the 2 years was up, I wrote my resignation letter. I made sure to give 2 weeks notice. I mentioned that I would be available to train any new bartender, and that if they needed me to come in after I had left, I would do so. So basically, I did everything to leave on good terms. My opinion is you want to be sensitive and kind here, because you never know if you have to ask someone for recommendation letters, or how the tides will turn in the future. You might have to ask them for a job again in the future. Who knows? You know, I've had to do that with certain places I said, I would never go back to, and then several years later, there I was. So, you want to be kind to people. After all, if it's been somewhat of a close-knit, family-like atmosphere, a small company, and people know each other, you've spent quality time with these people. So, even if you feel like you have every reason to be hostile and angry and rude, I would suggest you do not do that. Don't leave your work area in disarray. Leave things neat, tidy, and clean. Maybe even leave some notes about where the next person can pick up. And if you're able to, maybe even train the next person. And even if you feel like the company is not deserving of all of that after what they did, think about your own reputation. You want to be remembered fondly and professionally as someone who's great to work with. Because especially in this digital age where people can just get on social media, get on LinkedIn, and just review anybody and trash anybody, and they can do it anonymously. People can take pictures and just post them, and the whole world can see it. Nothing is private anymore. I feel like we're all living under a constant camera. So we really have to be conscious and aware of our actions and the way we treat people, because now they remain forever. You can put it up on the internet and there it stays, and the next employer sees it. So what else? I know it can be hard, especially if you're friends with people. And it's probably easier said than done, but I've done this before. I've written a resignation letter. I've given my 2 weeks notice. I've seen other people leave places. And you just have to do it. People on the job, no matter how family-like the atmosphere is, everybody understands that this is work. This is a job. This is not your blood family. This is not your mom and dad. And you do have a life outside of this. So people know that one day you're probably going to leave. And not just you, but everybody. People have seen people leave jobs all the time. So it's really not unusual. I know it's a challenge. But like the article said, the more you postpone it and put it off and hem and haw about it, actually the harder it is, especially if you're so ready to leave. You really don't want to reach the breaking point. And it's even hard to come to work and work under those conditions when you feel like you just can't take it anymore. In fact, my policy for myself has been to leave before it gets to that point where I feel like I'm breaking down and I just can't go in anymore. You know the signs. You feel it coming. And if you don't leave soon, you're going to reach that breaking point, and you might go off, and don't do it to yourself. So just stop postponing it. Write the resignation letter. For me, writing the letter itself was a lot easier because they had it on paper and it couldn't be disputed. Of course, I told them verbally. I didn't just go up to the manager and hand them a letter. But when I told them, I also handed them the letter. And I think a letter also makes it official, and it shows that you're serious. Otherwise, who knows? They might try to talk you out of it, or they might, if you're really chummy with management, they might say, "Oh, please, stop playing. You know you're going to be here." But with a letter, it's pretty official. Most people are usually not going to joke about a legal piece of paper. And I've seen cases where people have kept in social contact with people that they used to work with. Especially, it's so easy now with Facebook and LinkedIn. I've even seen cases where at the law firm that I work now, one of the attorneys, after she left, she came back to show everybody her baby. So, when you leave on good terms, you can do that. And remember, you never know who you might need to ask for a referral or a recommendation. So no matter how much they have pissed you off, try to do things nicely. If you know they're in the middle of an important project and you're an important part of the team, but you just gotta go, that's hard. I would say use as much sensitivity and kindness as you can. Maybe those last 2 weeks you want to do some overtime so you don't leave them in the lurch like that. Maybe you want to suggest someone you know who could quickly and immediately fill your shoes and tell them you're going to train that person and get them up to speed. You might have to go above and beyond just to keep a good reputation intact. You want to go out a winner and a hero. You want to be known as someone who's professional and who's a great employee and great to work with. And I'm 45, so I've been in the workforce for a good number of years now, and I feel like I speak from experience on this topic because I know how the circle can turn. You walk out of a place the wrong way, and then years later you might be out of a job and you're like, man, what I wouldn't do to have that job back again. But depending on how you left, you might be too embarrassed to go calling on them again. So, because believe me, I've been in that position, like, oh wow, that job sure looks good right about now. So anyways, I hope this has helped someone. And come check out my channel again. Thanks for listening and have a great day. That's Herbie Hancock, by the way.